What if your life was an invitation and everything wasn't just happening to you, but through you? When you start to believe in the magic of you, you become it. This is your invitation to heal and rise above into the fullest expression of you. This is the Liz Svatek Show, and your transformation starts now. Let's begin. Today, I am honored to welcome Rachel McCord, a powerhouse who went from growing up in Georgia trailer parks to lighting up Times Square and even surviving open heart surgery with faith and grit. Named a Bloomberg female founder and featured in Forbes, Vogue, Entrepreneur, and more, Rachel created the McCord List in 2013 to empower women. And today, it's a full-blown media network, launching creators, TV shows across Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, so that no powerful message gets left behind. She's spoken alongside icons like Michelle Obama and Tyra Banks, and now she's equipping a new generation to build for purpose, not just visibility. So Rachel, my sister, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored and so excited. I love that I got to interview you on the McCord List today, and now it's my moment to go on your show. What an honor.
I'm telling you, I had such a good time on your show, and that was our first meeting, and we had such a great conversation. And when you mentioned your open heart surgery, I was like, what? I was like, I need to have you on my show. So let's start with this. You've said, God has kept me on my toes, but he always catches me when I fall. So walk me through this arc from living in a trailer park through trauma, open heart surgery, all the way to Times Square. So what was that anchor along that journey?
I feel like God has had his hand over my life since I was born, to be honest. Even when I didn't know it, even when I couldn't feel it, even when I wasn't seeking him out, I really believe he just loves us. He created us. He loves us. He has us for a purpose in this life. And sometimes we face those moments where we are in the bottom of despair. And I think that it takes that sometimes for people to reach up and to reach out and to ask him to reveal himself. And he never leaves us hanging. I've seen it time and time again. But, growing up in my childhood, I was facing depression, but I didn't know what depression was. I just was really struggling, and later on was diagnosed with major depression, PTSD. But when I was 13 years old, I begged my mom to let me get a job. I was homeschooled and I really wanted to get out of the house. So I started working and kind of climbing my way through the ladder of quote unquote success and really just trying to find my way. I was trying to earn love, if I'm being honest. And I really thought that maybe if I got myself out of the trailer park, if I didn't have to worry about our utilities being shut off, or that maybe I'd be homeless one day, like fears like that kind of plagued me growing up, even until like my early, young teens, late teens. And so when I started working, I really just kind of started hustling and just didn't stop. And I think it literally took my heart stopping. I had been on a show for Bloomberg Television. My sister is an actress, so I'd moved to Hollywood and was building my own brand. I had started the McCord List back in 2013 and was just really motivated to be a voice of love and light in the world. I wanted to be like sassy self-help with lipstick and high heels. I wanted to meet people where they are at and then bring them into a place of love and belonging. So, as my spiritual journey has evolved, so has my mission. I'm all about now like God help, because I don't think that self-help lasts as long when you're trying to do it in your own strength. This world is just too big. I was a professional control freak, perfectionist, type AAA personality, all the things. And I came to the very end of my heartbeat, and I got that news 6 months after I got on a big jumbotron in Times Square for our show, Female Founders. I was filming at NASDAQ Studios. For the little trailer park girl who felt like she wasn't enough, I was like, okay, I made it. And it never filled that gap in my heart, because I don't think any of us will get there with external physical manifestation. I don't think that we're going to get to that wound within us, right? That aching, that needing, that desire to be that warrior woman. It doesn't actually get there without something deeper from within. So that was the beginning of the Lord just healing my heart. I had begged him to heal my heart, to be honest. I thought we were doing a emotional healing from all the things I had been through, trauma and drama, but he had something bigger in mind.
Well, clearly, in more ways than one, Rachel, 100%. So many things about your story, first of all, resonate with me. There's a scale called the ACEs scale. I'm sure you've heard of this, where they really assess your trauma. It's like an ACEs scale. It's something they use, like therapists use, and there's like 8 things on there, and they say like if you have like 2 of these, even like 3 of these, that's a pretty traumatic thing. I think people don't realize how often you actually are on that scale. Like people think that, you have to be murdered and left for dead to experience trauma. But growing up and not knowing where your money is, or if you've got lights coming on in your trailer, or that is trauma. And I think what's so interesting about your story is you use that trauma and you became this type A girl. And part of like that whole trauma thing is you adapt to the trauma. It's like, well, I'm not going to just let this kick me down. You were already feeling that sadness and that depression, but you're like, I'm not letting this kick me down. I'm going to hype it up. Right? And it served you, right? But it was only when that heart moment happened that you were like, oh, wow, I can't actually type A myself through life. I have to actually slow down and appreciate, right? And also not be doing things in that same trauma mode where I was before, because I'm not there anymore. I'm not there, right? But it takes things like that sometimes to slow us down enough to even realize.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, the joke is I wish I had learned with a easier lesson. I think my sweet Lord was like, honey, I'm going to try to teach you for years and years and years. And,
Mm.
I think that becoming a mom was very life changing for me. I had learned how to adapt. I would encourage people also. I would always say, create your quote unquote queen box. It's like all the things that bring you joy when you're having a crisis moment, like your paint set, your journals, your happy music playlist, and all the things. Like keep it in a spot, because when you're overwhelmed with emotion, you don't know where to go with it. So it's not the time to be creative. You want to go back to the basics. And so I had learned how to navigate. But then when I was about to have my baby, I started to think about and talk to doctors about postpartum depression. I was obviously like, a high risk for that. I did not know about postpartum anxiety. That was really what kind of punched me in the stomach. And so it was almost like I had learned how to live at the scale that I was living, going to 5 red carpet events a night, doing red carpets, interviews, and all these things, doing shows. And I think what had happened was I had gotten so good at running from myself. And when I was suddenly, as a person who never took vacation, forced to sit with herself and with the Lord and just really start to unravel and unpack these things. And, I think when you struggle with physical trauma, you can develop PTSD, right? Where everything is a threat, everything is scary, and you can develop it from many different ways. But for me, that was how I developed it. And I think that with that, there's this constant nervous system being activated. You're always afraid what's around the corner. That's really stressful on your heart. Stress is such a huge challenge for everything, right? It causes all the problems. It creates inflammation, all the things. So I think that I was just constantly running like a hamster in a hamster wheel. And I wasn't running towards what I wanted, to be honest. Like I had started my first company. I had made an exit when I was 24, and then I started the McCord List. So I was definitely closer than I had ever been of building something of purpose that was close to who I am and who I wanted to be. But it wasn't rooted in a tangible space. It was rooted in, this is what I love. I have my queen box because I need it to survive. Let me share this encouragement with the world. But it wasn't like I was really thriving. I was surviving. And so then after my surgery, which it's only been a year, which is so
Oh
crazy,
my gosh.
right? But after my surgery, I was like, I don't want to waste a heartbeat. I can't unfeel that moment kissing my little man's face and saying, I'll see you on the other side. He was 3 years old at the time. Like Would he remember me? I know all the things.
Uh,
And I had 2 weeks because we had to do certain tests before they cleared me that it was safe for me to do surgery. So I had 2 weeks in between these scans waiting for that surgery. And I can't unsee that. I can't unthink about heartbeats around a crowded room and all these people, all these moments we've taken for granted. And I just see it so differently now.
yeah, it's really incredible. I feel like this is what you were talking about when you were talking to me about making purpose from pain, right?
Yes.
Can you share kind of a moment that you feel like that shifted? Like, was there a moment from surviving to leading your life through that lens?
Yeah, what a sweet question. I think for me, in those 2 weeks, I started asking myself 3 really important questions that I encourage everyone to ask themselves. One is whatever you believe, whatever your faith is. Like for me, I'm a Yeshua Jesus girl, okay? But whatever it is for you, are you bold enough to share that with the world?
Yeah.
Because for me, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I've seen miracles, I keep seeing them. I know that God is real. So, because I know that, who would I be not to share that with the world? Who would I be not to be bold with that, not to be courageous, not to say, hey, even if you think I'm crazy, I'm telling you, this will help you. I'm like, if you took, like, you saw my intake form when I go to a doctor, it's like, I check a lot of boxes. The boxes you don't want to check, you know what I mean? Emotional, physical, all the things. But
Ah,
you've put your life in God's hands and you've seen transformation. You can't you who would I be? Who would I be to walk past pain, walk past hurting people and not be a voice for them? Who would like that is the shadiest thing I could possibly do. It is my job to share that. So, are you being bold with your faith? Number 2, are you loving your mate? Right. Like, was I loving my husband, Rick, enough? Was I being a good steward of the years that God was giving me? All these heartbeats that I had, I was in like a countdown to when it was going to stop. Like, had I loved him enough? Had I been the mom guiding my son, teaching him all the things he needed to know if I was out of time? So I asked myself those 3 questions, and I'm not the same girl after that. So after my surgery, I literally opened my eyes. I was like, oh, I survived. Thank you, Jesus. Get this out of my throat. Those were my first 3 conscious thoughts.
yes.
And, after that, I just decided to dedicate my life to a life of mission, a life of purpose and ministry like never before. And so now with the McCord List, we've built this full media network that is just a complete dream come true. I literally, like as recently as yesterday, I'm sitting down with these incredible humans who write books, who lead businesses, who coach people for a living. And I get to sit with them, hear their mission, and basically give them a larger platform. I get to utilize all these resources, all these relationships from family, being in the entertainment business, friends for like decades. I moved to LA in '09 as a little girl with no strategy and mission. And I feel like God just directed those footsteps. And now I'm literally helping these people with messages of transformation, hope, and love that these people want to change the world. So instead of me thinking in my strength, I'm going to control everything, in my strength, I'm going to have a show, no, yes, I have a show. I'm literally on my set, but it's not about that. It's actually about the people's voices that I can amplify because God has blessed me with resources that you wouldn't believe. We have 2 studios in LA that's just insane. God just literally has blessed me so abundantly with these things. And I'm like the youngest of 3 girls. I'm a sisterhood kind of girl. Like I'm all about community. Like I'm unhappy and uncomfortable if I'm on my own. So for me, getting to build this community and rising tides, raising all boats, some of our hosts interview our other hosts. Like it's this really sweet community. And then, when I'm pitching them for media interviews, I'm like, I've got like 15 different incredible humans I'd love you to interview. And usually it's like 15 yeses. So it's just been so incredible to see years of work that didn't make sense. And I wanted to quit all the time. In fact, my husband said I tried to quit so many times, he called it the quit speech. Like the week before I was covered in Vogue for the first time, I was like, this is it. I'm really done. I can't do this anymore. I can't do the red carpets and the posing and the paparazzi setups that I had no idea that photographer was going to be there. I'm wearing heels
God,
with
I'm
the
so
full.
amazed.
Oh my gosh. Wow. My fake eyelashes flapping in the wind. It's like, no, when they caught me for real because I look real. I have a truly messy bun. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want anybody to see me like this. You know? But
Yeah.
it's like so incredible that these years of just like blessing and relationships now are blessing people who have a message of hope to share in the world.
It really is incredible. And I think what you're speaking to is legacy. This is my favorite subject. We talked about this a little bit before, and I am always talking to women about legacy is not what happens after you die. Legacy is now. We are living so you are literally currently living your legacy, and you sometimes find that legacy through the pain, right? You think, oh, I don't want to share these things about myself that don't make me look good, or I don't want to be the person that's having heart surgery. I want to be this other person that's on the red carpet with my eyelashes flashing, like, or flapping, right? I don't want to be this person. But it's funny, like, when I think about my son and how he was born, it's a similar story to you. He's in the hospital. I don't think he's going to live. They're going to amputate his arm. And I'm thinking, no, 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 no. This is my first baby. I am not doing this. I am going home with a perfect child. I'm going home with my son, and I'm going to go home. And I left the hospital without a baby. For 52 days, had to pray over this boy. Please, God, let him live. He was supposed to be brain damage, amputate the arm. This is my first baby. I literally thought I was going crazy. I thought I was cursed. I was mad at God. I felt forsaken and lost, and I don't even know what I felt. And knowing that whole birth story led me out of this perfection journey. I don't give a rat's butt about perfection. I don't care about it anymore, right? I know now what life really is. That boy's now going to college at Chapman with 2 arms and his brain totally intact. He's a political science major. God only knows why, because nobody likes politics anymore, but my son apparently does. So point being is that all of that, even the breaking my relationship with my sister, that led to this sisterhood, right? So everything you're telling me, I'm watching you, how everything, all these hardships have really led to your legacy. And now this legacy work that you're doing, you're actually giving other people a chance to build a legacy, which is, to me, the ultimate legacy is when you not only find your own legacy, but you help others build theirs.
Oh, what a beautiful story. And what a warrior you are, Liz. Like, what an incredible story of hope and inspiration and grit to anyone listening. And I think that that's really the message that you're sharing right now, right? With legacy. It's like, it's realizing that when you're like, because I was begging God to supernaturally heal my heart. I really wanted him to. I know my best friend does miracles. I'm very clear on his capacity. I know those stories. I read the Bible in 90 days 1 year, and I was like, I was healed of so much anxiety and so much fear that I was dealing with just by hearing all of these stories that you've heard along the way, but I flooded my mind with them with like 13 to 15 chapters a day. I was transformed by the living word. And I think that for me personally, being in this season now where I see the world very differently. Like I really see myself as a spiritual being. God has given me this physical body for this season of life. I don't know how many heartbeats I have, but I know that I'm going to use them with the fullness that God has given me. I'm going to do it as unto the Lord. And so for me, I see it as, okay, I'm not about what I can attract here, right? Because you think about climbing that accolades ladder and checking off all these boxes. It's like you're doing it because you're trying to earn something. You want people to love you. You want praise. And it's okay. This is understandable. We deal with crazy things. Like you said, as a child, you have this trauma. Like you can deal with so much. But when you shift and you're like, I am serving an audience of one. So that means that I trust that God opens doors for me. God closes doors. I ask him to. I had an incredible show that we had sold to an amazing network, and it was not the right show. It was not the right time. I felt so nervous and I just didn't have peace about it. And I just started praying, God, if it's not your will, please block it. And against all odds, this show got blocked. It's just the craziest thing, right? And everyone's like, I don't know why it happened. I'm like, I kind of have an ATI, But I think that when you just yield it, like it is the most liberating thing in the world. People, they get burns from religion. They get burned. They get church hurt. And I had that too. That's one of those check marks too. You can have those experiences. And then when you just go to him and you just fall apart, like I've had those moments in my life. I've had it over my husband, over my son. I had my son during COVID. It was a very scary time. All these things happening. Yeah, May 2020 is when I gave birth. But, all these things. And it's like, I now know what to do. I didn't know what to do before my surgery. I get low, girl. I start my day, like I get on the floor and I'm just like, thank you, God. Thank you that my heart is beating. Thank you that my son is breathing and beating right now in his sleep. Thank you, God, for my husband. Thank you, God. Thank you. Like I just have so much gratitude because I know that my eternity is set. I know where I'm going. I know that for me, it's just about gobbling up these jewels that I get to give to him and say, look, one of your kids got this moment on set, got this moment on a stage, and look at the lives that will be have the ripple effect of transformation because she stood there and she was brave. And so sometimes my job is just reminding my people of who they are and what they're capable of and what God has put in their heart, and using that trauma for this beautiful testimony, this mess into a message. It's like everything changes when you realize, of course, God didn't supernaturally heal my heart because I am so much more of a human now because I went through that. I have so much more of a message of hope for other people. I was inspired by my best friend who's gone through over 30 heart surgeries and she's in her 30s. I'm sharing messages to a sweet girl named Sarah who's gonna have heart surgery and she's afraid. Like all these things have happened as a result of that. And so I think we just have to be so empowered to know that whatever your platform is, whether it's 4 people or 40 million, like you have a message, you have a purpose. God says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So it's like God has this beautiful plan for you. Since you were a little baby being fearfully and wonderfully made, formed together in your mother's womb. He thought of you before he laid the foundation of the world. He knows how many hairs are on your head. He loves you. It's not the message that you always hear, but it's the message of truth. And if you're on a journey of truth, that's why I say, whatever your faith is today, God bless you. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Just lean into it because truth will always set you free. Truth will always make itself known. And so I really don't worry about people the way that I would before. Like my son and my husband, when I was going through the surgery, I really fell apart on the verse Romans 8:28. God will work all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Because I knew that even if I didn't survive and I didn't have any more lessons that I could share with my son, and even if he didn't remember me and all these things that were so scary for me as a mom,
God, yes.
knew that God was going to work it together for good, which would mean that he would take that trauma that would happen for Jude and he would make it work together for good. And same for my husband. And I think we think that with ourselves because it's easier. It's easier for me to go through heart surgery. It'd be so much harder if it was someone I loved going through it, right? To be honest.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
right? So, but then the same thing with that verse, like you have to know that it's also for the people around you. And so that gave me so much peace, even in the scariest moments. I mean, I was crying constantly. Mascara was not needed during that season.
I've been in that season. I know exactly what you're talking about. I love to call it. I love what you're saying because when you talk about the humanness, I always say we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? And sometimes we get too much in our humanness. Sometimes we forget, right, that we're blessed. Sometimes we forget that someone's watching over us. And I coach all different women. Some people are devout Christians, and some people are just believe in God, universe, spirit, a higher power. But when you were saying before, I don't believe in self-help, I believe in God help. That really struck me because I always tell these women, you really have to have a higher power. Like there's actually no world that you can do this alone. It's one thing to have a sisterhood, which I believe in. All my programs are built around women, supporting women, women being together, women leaning on each other. But there is no world where you can get anything done if you don't think you're being guided, loved, and supported. Even if you just believe the universe has my back, right? God has my back. Just even if it's something simple like that, you need something like that to carry you through. And you've been, obviously, this has brought you to that place where you know who really is carrying you through. But when you talk about my five, that's what you were talking about, the 5 people you do everything for, how has that circle shaped your decisions and your resilience and all this legacy work that you're doing today?
Oh my goodness, what a sweet question. So, my 5 came to be on the floor of a 2-bedroom apartment in the very beginning of the McCord List. So, back in 2013, we were starting the McCord List, and I was so nervous because I was like, what's new under the sun? Like, what can I possibly say that hasn't been done? There aren't people who are better educated than me and smarter and more powerful and have a bigger platform and blah, 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 right? We can find a million excuses to stay stuck. That's kind of a superpower that we all have, right?
Yes.
But when I sat on the floor with my husband and I was kind of just wrestling with it, he said, Rach, if you could help 5 people who are right now in the floor of their closet, which is where I would go when the depression cloud would come in and just move right into my life. I'd go to the floor of my closet, wrapped up in a blanket with my 2 chihuahuas, and the world felt too big, and it was this small, quiet, dark space where I could just be, and I felt like no one could judge me there, and I could just be. He said, if you could help 5 people who right now are in the floor of their closet, would they be worth it? And he meant, like, through the span of your career and with
Yeah.
what you're building, and I was like, 5 whole people? Are you kidding me? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
5
I will
people.
do everything for those 5 people, and so that began this journey of just seeking out my 5, whether I'm on a stage, I'm on a show, I'm in a conversation, I'm in a crowded room. I just always look for my 5, and I think that that has been the biggest piece that got me unstuck, and I share that with people, like, we were filming a show this week, and, one of my hosts, it was, like, her first time filming. She was so nervous and excited. We had done lots of calls. We'd done a show accelerator to prep her, and, she kept getting nervous. I was like, "Let's get on a call. I got you. I got you." We talked through all the feelings that would come up. We plan it all out, over planning just to make sure we feel good. And then she sat down and she was like, I was like, "How do you feel right now?" Because she'd been filming for about 15 minutes. And she was like, honestly, I feel like I'm bombing this. I'm so nervous. I feel like I sound nervous. And I said, "Okay, I want you to imagine the person on the other side of this camera who's going through a divorce right now and feels like she has no options. She has no idea what to do. But guess what? Every morning she's got to put a smile on and she's got to make omelets and little tiny pancakes that are frozen because it's all she can deal with and all she can do and afford. And your words are going to give her hope that she can make it through just like you did." And she was like, "Okay." And it was like an epic turn where you saw her just step into it, because I think that's the part that just like blows my mind in the best kind of way, that I get to sit down with people who are committed to that person who is unseen, feels unloved, it feels unheard and unknown. And together we're creating these messages of hope, these stories of transformation. Your message matters. That's the whole point. Like, your message matters. It can change people's lives. So if
Absolutely.
we're sitting here stuck thinking, "I don't know what to do," the truth is that someone else does. And I think about that with what we're talking about with believing in something bigger, right? A higher power of the universe. For me personally, it has been that like that age old saying, right? It says, "The thinking that got you here is not the thinking that gets you out." And isn't that so logical? How could I imagine that I'm going to be okay if I don't realize that I have someone who gets it? It's like with a company. You have a new company. You get an advisor who knows what they're doing, who's done it. They've made a couple exits. They've gone public a few times. That's the journey you want to take with your company. That's who you're going to listen to. You're going to get this advisor because they know things that you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think when you have that peace and that faith that says, "Hey, like, if I fall, I know who I'm falling on." One of our hosts, Lisa Stewart, she has a show called The Drama Diet, and she talks about flying with fear and falling with faith. And that's really the message, right? It's like you can move with fear. You have to learn how to fly with fear because life will be scary. I believe that we face spiritual challenges that we don't even understand when we're about to hit a breakthrough in our own life. And very often, if we're going to be a part of someone else's breakthrough, there's typically a breakdown that happens. Almost always, if I'm about to speak into someone's life, I usually get hit with exactly what they're struggling with the week or the days leading up to it. And then I'm like totally thrown off. I used to not notice it. I wasn't like being mindful and journaling and kind of processing it until it finally dawned on me. Of course, this would happen to me right before I'm supposed to help someone because the goal would be discouragement and getting me to give up, right? Because then I stop something that's going to stop legacy for that person and their children and their children's children. But if you go even deeper than that, I believe that God allows these things because the beautiful thing about it is that by me facing it within days of when I'm about to minister, encourage someone else, hello, it's fresh on my mind. I just kind of dusted off my little queen box or my tools. Like I've actively tried and found a way to process and walk through that. So I don't want to ever encourage people from here. Like, I have a show. No way. It's about getting in the dirt and saying, "Hey, I see you. I get it. I believe in you. And I'm here with you in this journey."
Yeah, that's leading from the bench, I call that.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny, we think we can't lead from the bench, but you know what? When Landon was leaving for college, and you are going to be, believe it or not, Rachel, you will have one day your son will go to college. And let me say, you spend your whole life in a weird way dreading it. It's like such a dichotomy. On one way, you're like, oh no, I want to get this child to college. Like, of course I'm going to get this college. Like, that's my whole goal. But then you're kind of like, oh, you're going to go to college? Like, I used to tell him, well, I'm going to be your roommate, so it's not a problem. Like, I used to always, and I'm like, and I'm so great because I have the credit cards and I can buy things. Like, I literally was like selling myself to him. And so the whole time, like, it's coming, right? But you cannot imagine the grief. I just can't explain it, that someone can live with you for 18 or 19 years, and then his bedroom is just sitting there.
Oh,
It is a heartbreaking feeling, even though it is everything you want. It is what you've prayed for. It's what, I mean, my God, it's what we wanted. But it is such a grief. And I thought, oh my God, I'm really in this right now. And I thought, oh God, like I don't have anything to say right now. Like I'm a mess. Like I have nothing to say. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do this podcast on grief. I don't, it's so messy. I recorded this thing. I'm boo-hooing like a lunatic. I'm like, oh my God, this is the dumbest podcast I've ever done. I don't even know how stupid this is. So dumb. I don't have any wisdom, but I did. I had a little bit of wisdom and I just thought, I'm just going to do it. And my God, if that podcast hasn't turned into like a viral, crazy thing. And I think when
wow.
you're leading from the bench, it's not that somebody wants to be like, show me how perfect you are, Rachel. Look how perfect you are and how perfect your journey is, and that you're on the other side of it. There's something really compelling about being in the middle of something, in the middle of building things, in the middle of learning, in leading from the bench that actually other people really resonate with. Like, yeah, like I'm over here grieving. And so it's such a dichotomy. I'm so happy for him and I'm grieving. And the amount of women that came out of the woodwork, like, why is no one talking about this? Why are we not talking about, like, no, because we're supposed to be grateful, right? Like, it was like a taboo thing. Like, we're not supposed to grieve the fact that our children have lived with us for 18 years and we're not supposed to miss them? Hello? Right? So I think it's so interesting when you're talking like that, when you're talking about leading from the bench, being where you are and telling you people who are launching shows with you, talk to that woman who's sitting in her kitchen, who's over there like, what am I doing? Like, these kids are depending on me. I don't know what I'm doing. That's the greatest advice I've ever heard. It really is, because it really lets them know this is, first of all, not about you. This is about other people. This is about your
Isn't it
friend.
such a relief? Isn't it such a relief? Like, I get behind every time I'm like, I was speaking at this massive, massive church one time, and I was so nervous. There was like all the balconies, everything was full. And I felt like I was gonna pass out. I probably was because it was before my heart surgery. I didn't know how blood pressure was impacted. But I was like back there, I was so nervous, and I was like, Rachel, you're 5. Why are you making this about you? Like, it is the biggest relief ever. And I will just say, like, speaking to that, where you said, I'm not gonna have any wisdom. You know, the thing that's so unique is that wisdom is effortless. When God has given you wisdom, when life has given you opportunities to develop and strengthen those muscles, it doesn't feel like anything special. Like it's like, is there like a Looney Tune like cartoon that happened and that everyone's like, oh my gosh, like I am gonna have this like flowy light and doves come. No, it's not touched by an angel. Like there's not a moment that's dramatic that shows you when you're using wisdom. It's just from abundance, so the heart speaks. So we have to just have confidence that when we can look at these moments with vulnerability, hello, that's wisdom. Being able to boohoo cry and actually post that, that is powerful. That is vulnerability that we dream of. So I think giving ourselves permission to say that, to say, I feel like I know nothing here.
Right.
Here's what I'm thinking. Here's where my head's at. Because I think that gets us so untethered to the pressure. And we have to remember, whether you know it or not, there is a spiritual battle going on. It's easy to see. If you watch the news, it's easy to see the darkness, the evil in the world. But it's also, when you hear conversations like this, listening to your show, it's like, it's easy to see the beauty, the light. And where light is, darkness cannot be. So all we need to do is bring more light into the world everywhere we can, and to pray for the people who are struggling. Like, you know, I feel like there has been just this crazy cancel culture that really got strong in COVID when people were very upset, understandably trapped in their houses. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, right?
People were getting
Really
crazy.
struggling. Crazy and bored and like finger heroes, just like giving all no,
Yes.
you know what I mean? All the feedback. Like, my goodness, we didn't need another opinion. And it was crazy because during that time, cancel culture just soared. And why is that, right? Because it's that message of getting in the ground. And Yeshua says, he who was without sin cast the first stone, right? Like, we all think it's I got this, Lord, I'll be the judge here. You can take a day off. Like, I got this, right? But at the end of the day, what the message really needs to be is focused on how can we actually be a message of love and light? Because who's thinking about the people that got canceled? I know if you're like me, you were watching the big Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, and we all have an opinion. I was like, oh my gosh, I am team. You got your person. But then you see Amber Heard and thought about her later, like, I want to pray for her. Like, I feel my heart breaks for people who kind of get shunned in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm almost like, hey, look, yes, you've made mistakes. Yes, you're making mistakes. So am I. We all are. But who are we as a people in a world if we are so good at judging and shunning and canceling people when they make mistakes? What would it look like for us to be a voice of grace? And I'll tell you what it would look like in my personal life. When I choose grace for others, I have more grace for myself. When
Well,
I choose
dead
judgment
right.
for others, I have more judgment of myself.
Dead right, because all judgment is self-judgment. I
Mhm.
teach that. All judgment. You think you're judging someone else right now? That shows me the depth of hatred and judgment you have for you. When I see people really coming for somebody on that level, Rachel, that is so telling to me about how they feel about themselves. Because
Absolutely.
because I have compassion for people that people cannot imagine that you can have compassion for, because we are human beings having a spirit. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We're human.
And it's messy and it's difficult, and that is the whole point. It's like I would be devastated and terrified if all of my shortcomings were out in the public stage
Oh
and
my God,
people
yes.
could throw stones at me all day. And guess what? I would give them tons of content. They would have so much content to judge me on. Like,
Yes.
it is not hard. Like, I mean, imagine a type triple A being a boss. I was a terrible leader. I was like micromanaging and like bottlenecking every good thing that was happening. Like, you just don't know what you don't know, but you've got to do the best with what you have, and you've got to show up with love and intentionality. And that means having that feeling for people on the opposite side of the hall. Like, if we cannot sit in the same room with a person with a completely different viewpoint, religion, politics, faith, family, all the things, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, truthfully, I
100%.
hope your son is like the voice in politics of community and connection. I'm like, if we had this much division in my company every 4 years, a new CEO, and like everyone's fighting,
Oh
it's like
my God. Can you
travel.
imagine?
You don't go anywhere. You
Well,
spend
first of all, it's crazy making.
it's
You feel
crazy, man.
crazy. Wait, didn't just 4 years ago we'd make the total opposite the decision? I'm so confused. Like, one thing I'll say about Landon, which is, I literally had this thought, and it's so funny that you just mentioned this, because this is what I woke up with. He's making all these really different kinds of friends. He's got this whole Asian posse. He's a white dude. You just say he's in this Asian posse. They're all filmmakers. He made friends with this gay dude. My best friend in college was gay. He didn't know it. I knew he was gay. He didn't know. But he's like making friends with all these different people. And, at first it makes me nervous, because I'm like, he's so loving and he's so impressionable and he's so innocent in some ways that I'm like, okay, I hope these people just love him. Like, I hope they like appreciate him. But then I woke up and I thought, well, if Jesus went to college, who would he be friends with? And I thought, that's exactly what he's doing. He's over there going, I love everyone. I want
I
to
love
learn
the
from
tax
people.
collectors. I love the people over here. I love the president. Like,
He's over there just loving on people, right? Like, I literally thought, like, yeah, that's what Jesus would do. Like, it literally brought tears to my eyes, because I'm like, that's why I love this kid so much, because he's just over here, like, meeting people, and he just loves them for who they are, and he doesn't, he just has no judgment. It's so incredible. It's so incredible. Well, you are clearly the queen of reinvention, but I want to just thank you for sharing all this truth, all this, your walk through the pain, your refusal to shrink, and for you to actually live this legacy, because really you're enabling so many other people to live their legacy. So I want to thank you for that, first of all. And thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing with me today. But for viewers who want to step into this purpose-driven media themselves, where can they find you? How can they walk that next path with you?
yes. And thank you, Liz, so much for having me on the show. I love you. I just wanted an excuse to hang out with you. So this was such an honor. Like, I'm so here for it. So everything is on the McCord List. So you can go to the McCordList.com and just check it out. And we also have it on social media. I think for me, what's really exciting is that we have quite a few shows right now that we're building. We have some in queue. We're trying to like navigate our wait list and how to like onboard people the best possible way. But there has yet to be a story of hope, transformation, or love that I have not personally figured out a way to produce and develop. And what's been so fun is that we actively distribute these shows. So we film them, we develop them, edit them, and then we bang on doors on every platform from CBS to CNBC to Roku, Samsung, and Entrepreneur Magazine, like all the things to get those shows done. So I think for me, it's really about helping people get a larger platform to share a message of hope and to find their five. So thank you for giving me the chance to share this message and just to encourage anyone at home, like, you can do this. You can turn on your camera. You can go on social media at any moment and be a voice of light, because where light is, darkness cannot be.
Well said. And maybe that's the title of the podcast. We'll just have to see. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate you. You really show what it looks like to live in the light and to shine your light and to really shine it on other people, which is actually, right? That's true legacy, right? Like we said before, not just yours, but giving legacy to others. So glad you came today. All right, everybody. And I will put everything in the notes for you so you can follow up with Rachel, because I know you're going to want to, and I know you're going to want your show. So I'm going to put all our information in the show notes. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.